You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. We want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. It'd be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Napoleon.
That would be a little weird. Very weird.
There you go. Wherever you are, I mean, they might have good
Spoon has Turner Spoon has, I'm sure, some Neapolitan ice cream. Not that's exactly
those are
the
different.
Same.
That's Italian versus French. That's a whole different debate.
Not exactly the same, but they're kind of in the same family.
They might have croissants.
With
Peyton Chatinier. Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's just a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. If you're cooking out this weekend, nothing beats the sizzle of beef on the grill. And if you're not cooking out, well, then go get a steak at one of our awesome steakhouses. We have them all over the state of Mississippi. And if you're just looking for a great weeknight meal idea, beef is the ingredient to choose. It's easy to cook. It cooks quick. It's delicious. Everybody wants it. That's the way to go. If you're looking for recipes, msbeef.org, along with a ton of information about the beef industry here in the state of Mississippi. Beef, it's what's for dinner, thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you are looking for. We are officially on the countdown to Mother's Day and then to Father's Day. That means it's time to start thinking about what you want to get mom. If mom's a Bulldog, College Corner is going to have great gifts for her. Not just talking about polos and T-shirts and stuff like that, but stuff that she, if she wants to, have stuff around the house or stuff for the tailgate. It's all right there at College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area. Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, Flowwood by the Half Shell, or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant, lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, including today. You were correct, Robbie. That's the best meal in town. It's at Restaurant Tyler. If you're going to be in Starkville anytime soon and you're going to be around here for lunch, I cannot give you a higher suggestion than to go to Restaurant Tyler and enjoy a blue plate lunch there. It's my favorite in town, my favorite maybe in the state of Mississippi. If you're telling me we're going to eat a blue plate, I want to go to eat at Restaurant Tyler, and you will too. For the best meal in town, it's real easy to get. You just need to go to Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide to show you not only where they're located and how they're going to help you invest and manage your money, they're going to show you how they're going to help you prepare for your future. When you have questions about your money, you deserve answers on your schedule. You deserve a bank that knows you as well as it knows your money. You need a bank that provides the level of service you're only going to get at Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. Happy Easter to you, my friend.
Yeah, you as well.
And you had
a good one.
Very good. The ham was delicious today. That's all.
Oh, we had.
Are you a ham guy for Easter?
Yeah, it's fine. I had some today.
Okay.
So we had ham. My dad cooked a brisket.
Oh.
Which in the oven.
And
it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then we had pork loin.
Oh, 3 meats.
Some jambalaya. We had some green bean casserole, some strawberry cake, some caramel pie.
You got another sister I can marry? What is going on here?
This is the whole family. This is my mom. My mom has 2
a cousin, something. I got to get in on these Faulk family get-togethers.
Yeah, it was good. It was. So,
I'll bring something. You can just invite me.
I have a story.
Okay.
So, as you know, I have a 5-6 day old child.
Yes.
Little lady. And so obviously we're not taking her out to church and stuff yet. We did go out the other day. We went to Bulldogs, had a nice brunch at Bulldogs. She was going to go to the doctor. So we didn't take Lady to church today. We went to my parents' church. Becky stayed home. I took Natty. I get a text from Becky. I'm about to go get in line. Church is concluded. I bought the brisket up from my parents' house. We're eating at the church. I'm about to have a great meal. My mouth is literally watering
Mm-hmm.
from what I see on the table. Homemade rolls, mac and cheese, a charcuterie board. We even had
Oh, buddy.
nachos and cheese. It was stacked it was filled to the brim. And I get a
I bet
message
you
from
younger
Becky.
in life, man.
I get a message from Becky, and it's a video,
Oh, no.
and it just says like the water won't stop running into the washing machine.
Oh, no.
It's been running for 30 minutes. I don't know what to do, and I'm just like, oh god. So I call her and I was like, can you reach back there and turn off? Can you shut off the valve from the water
Right.
to the machine? No, she can't get back there. She's got to move the washing machine. So I was like, oh god, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I get my brother-in-law because I'm thinking the machine's going to be level full of water.
Yeah, it's going to be heavy.
Pouring out. It's going to be a ton to move out to get it. So I get in the truck. I'm going 80. She got it to drain out, but it's still filling up. So I get there and I cut off the valve. So I got back to the church to eat, and almost everything's wiped out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was like 15 minutes late, and almost everything. We have 40 people in our family. Almost everything is gone. But I had enough I got a little sample of just about everything. We had mashed potatoes. I forgot we had mashed potatoes as well.
Yeah.
It was completely stacked.
Goodness.
So at the end of the day, the washing machine is messed up. I have to worry about that later. But
yeah,
no water on the floor. I got the food I wanted.
Lucky you.
We're good.
That water will get on the floor sometimes. Sometimes,
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't have to. I didn't have to deal with that. That would have been
a get waterboarded for 45 minutes. Good job. I'm proud.
That would have been a disaster.
It would have been. All right. Speaking of disasters,
yes, Mississippi State baseball. Huh?
What a fantastic segue. That's a really disappointing series because you had the lead in all 3 games. You could have easily won this series. You got a great pitching performance from Pico Khan on Friday night, and you totally squandered it. Saturday, your bats are going. You get some runs. You've got a lead, and you give it away again. Your bullpen, which was so good the week before against Alabama, completely lets you down. And even on Sunday, it was a lot more of that typical Sunday game. State has to get a 5 spot there in the bottom of the 8th to give themselves a little breathing room. Otherwise, they would have gone into the 9th with a 1-run lead, and who knows how that would have turned out. So State gets the final game of the series on Sunday, but man, now their postseason chances, Robbie, feel like they're very, very much diminished.
Well, right now, Mississippi State softball is playing in Oklahoma, and they let a game. They had a chance to win that second game.
Yeah,
they didn't get it, but they're up 4-0 right now in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
that would be a massive win for them to get the last win of the series.
Yeah,
that'd be massive.
Yeah.
But when you lose the first 2 games against a team like Florida and like how they are right now, because Oklahoma is a top 5 team and one of the best programs in the history of softball, that would be massive. But Florida, 3 of their 4 wins coming in to this series were against the absolute worst team we've seen in decades in Missouri.
Right.
To lose those first 2 games, Sunday felt like blah. Like it just felt like it just wasn't – it didn't even feel important. It didn't feel like whatever happened in the game was like, whatever. And then, you almost give it away. That would have created an absolute implosion had that happened. But fortunately, State's offense was just determined to win this game, which is good. Where was that the first 2 games? 1 for 10 with the bases loaded until that Bryce Chance base hit in the 8th inning.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
Like it's almost impossible to have 10 chances with the bases loaded and you can't get a single run home because you got the bases loaded 10 times. If you got the bases loaded 10 times, you were doing something offensively to get runners on base. Somebody's got to come through. Almost no one did. And Florida was 2 for 3 on the weekend. Offensive situational hitting was pretty bad this weekend. But it was not nearly as bad as what State did out of the bullpen this weekend, what they did behind the plate on Saturday specifically. Just the defensive alignment, like, always came back to bite them, it seemed like. Florida's putting doubles in the gap when the center fielder was shaded to the left side. You got a dropped fly ball in the outfield. You got a throwaway at first base.
Defensively, a lot of your issues were back this weekend.
Yes.
Just, and not necessarily getting errors, just mistakes.
And it's like, like we've talked about the moves that Chris Lemonis has made the last few years, just like it almost all of them are like don't work. But now you're looking at it like, why is Garrick Fry not finding a spot earlier on in the season? Why is Sawyer Reeves not playing shortstop? He looks like the best shortstop on the team.
Yeah.
Like, why was that never an option for him? Why is Joe Powell not your starting catcher?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then you start breaking it down this weekend. The pitching decisions were absolutely awful by Justin Parker. I mean, there's no other way around.
So many, both Friday and Saturday, you bring in a reliever, and it's immediately evident that he does not have it with Stone Simmons and Nate Williams. It's immediate. Like, you get a couple guys on, it's like, man, we got to make a change so we can hold on to this lead. Instead, they just leave them out there to dry, and both of them get shelled, and you lose the lead and eventually lose the game.
And I mean, I get, like, it takes a while to warm up pitchers. And when Stone Simmons and Nate Williams are coming in the game, your feeling is, because they've been so good the last
They
couple
were
weeks,
really good last weekend.
There's no reason to put anybody up.
Right.
But after the first couple of runs, it's time to get some guys hot.
Mm-hmm.
And Stone Simmons faced 6 batters. Mm-hmm. And Nate Williams faced 5 or 6. And then they could turn around and bring them back in the game on Sunday. And I realized they ended up winning the game, but Nate Williams gives up a bomb right away and did not look sharp at all. He got out of the inning, but he did not look sharp at all. Mm-hmm. Stone Simmons gave up 2 or 3 base runners in the 9th. Like, what is going on, man? Like, it just – I don't understand it. I really don't. And these are people that are way smarter than you and I are in the sport of baseball to make it at this point. But the decisions and the lack of fundamentals by this team and the lack of, like, the baseball IQ, like, when you're on the field, it just doesn't make any sense. Some of the plays or some of the decisions that are made on the field, in the dugout, like, this team just does so many things poorly on this level to have a chance to be successful. You can't continue to make these mistakes, and they've done it for 4 years. It doesn't matter what the roster looks like. It doesn't matter who comes in and out. This is this program. This is what this program is. They just play the game poorly most of the time. And I'm glad they got a win on Sunday, but that gives no one any confidence about this team moving forward. They're sitting here at 6-12 in SEC play, and you have a top 10 team in Auburn coming up, which they'll probably drop, but they'll still be a top 15 team. You have a Kentucky team who just beat Tennessee coming up. You have, I believe they did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Ole Miss, who is still a solid team. They're not playing well right now, but
they're going to be desperate to win games, so they want to host. Yeah. So
I don't see how anybody.
And you didn't mention it, but this game Tuesday matters. This game in Pearl, the Governor's Cup, State needs to get some. That's something we keep coming back to with State is they don't have a lot of quality wins this year. Like they have.
That's the thing. Like, if they get to 13, I think they'll get in, but there's nothing.
Make a case that they shouldn't, though. Yeah,
because think back to Florida last year. Like, Florida, they just had to get above 500 to get in the tournament. Like, they were good enough that they were going to get in, and they actually came to the SEC tournament with a losing record, and everybody knew if they just got a winning record, they were getting in because their RPI was in a good spot. State's not in a good spot. If they get 13 wins, that isn't a guarantee they're getting in. I think that they would. I think they'd get the benefit of the doubt probably, but it's not a guarantee. I think 14 gets them in. But that's a stretch, man. Yeah. 7 more wins. That's where we're at right now.
5 in the last 12. If you assume you can get 3 against Missouri, right? And I don't know that this team can sweep anybody, but Missouri is so bad, we'll just make that assumption, right? You got to win a series. You got to win a series in there. You got to win either at Auburn or one of your home series with Ole Miss, Kentucky. That's 13 wins. Other than that, you're not getting in. And like I said, I don't trust.
You got to win a series and you can't get swept.
So this team has won 6 out of 18, and I'm going to trust them to win 7 out of 12. I don't. I do not trust them. So I will not be having the Mississippi State in the postseason debate this week. They come back and they take this series from Auburn. Maybe I'll get back on board. But right now, I think this team is going to be out of the postseason.
And I think we've pretty much consistently said that. Like we've kind of taken it week by week. We've talked about they need to go beat South Carolina, and when you beat South Carolina, you need to go beat Bama. Mm-hmm. When you beat Bama, you need to go beat Florida. Like I think that Florida is a much better team than their record. I think they're certainly better than coming in 4-11 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. They have some big, strong dudes in that lineup. They can hit. They had some good frontline pitching. Their bullpen wasn't as good, but they were all talented. That's the thing. Like Kevin O'Sullivan doesn't recruit untalented pitchers.
Right.
They might not be ready. They might not be healthy.
But most
of them are throwing 95 plus, really good stuff, 3-4 pitch mix, future pros.
Right.
So it's not like you're going up there facing a bunch of scrubs that are throwing 86, 87. So it's a very talented team. I could see them getting hot. And they're playing good baseball right now, but you still should have won this weekend. Mm-hmm. This was a weekend series. You had good crowds on Friday and Saturday. This is a series that you should have gotten, and it's a wasted opportunity by Mississippi State once again. So I mean, I'm glad they got a win on Sunday, but you can't leave that series feeling good about Mississippi State.
No, I don't. And then, like I said, I will tell you now, I don't think. Like I said, it's just simple mathematics, right? You've won 6 out of 18, and now you got to turn around and win 7 out of 12. That seems unlikely. Even though you do have, 3. I don't know if Ole Miss will be. They should still be ranked, I guess, but they might not be come tomorrow.
They had a bad week.
Kentucky won't be ranked. Missouri won't be ranked. I get that, but this is sort of the same debate. I remember having this debate. I think it was maybe 2 years ago with Richard. Maybe it was last year with Ole Miss, and he kept talking about how like the back end of their schedule was so much easier. It's like they got easier games, and every time I was just like, Richard, Ole Miss is last in the SEC. Other teams are pointing to them and saying, "Hey, our schedule gets easier. You're playing Ole Miss." That's what Kentucky and Ole Miss and Auburn right now are like. All right, we got an easier weekend coming up. We got Mississippi State. Right. That's what State is right now. So I'll be surprised if they pull this off. So they're gonna have to win 7. I think they could lose. They could lose Tuesday and still be okay, but that would be a nice win to have. Just because, like I said, their resume is not their best wins. They have the 2 wins over Alabama. Those are good wins, quality wins. They have the win over USM at home. I mean, they have 1 win at
Oklahoma, and that's
pretty much it.
And Oklahoma's just okay.
They're a good team. They're a good team. That's all you can say. So
there's no really good wins for this team.
Right, I agree.
I mean, by RPI standards, I guess there is because of Alabama, but Alabama's going to start falling. They're not really doing anything special right now. So
they lost 2 out of 3 this week at LSU, right?
I believe that's correct. I know they lost a series.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they won Saturday, but yeah. I mean, there's very few. But really, I mean, the thing is, like, every win just matters for Mississippi State at this point. Like, you can't lose any of these midweek games.
Right.
You could probably lose to Ole Miss and survive, but you can't lose. You really need to win that game, and you can't lose any more. And then you have every single SEC win is huge if you're wanting to get into postseason. But
so State's midweek games remaining. We mentioned the Governor's Cup. That's Tuesday. They play Memphis at home on the 29th, so that's next Tuesday. And then they have one more. They play North Alabama on Tuesday, the 13th of May.
That screams Central Arkansas.
Well, not only that, but Robbie, that's a game that even if you win 20-1, it's going to hurt your RPI. I don't understand why they're scheduling that. They've
got to stop. They can't schedule SWAC teams anymore, and you can't schedule these teams anymore.
And not only that, you can schedule it, but it's got to be like in February. State does not need to play a non-conference game after May 1st.
Well, and not to mention, like, that needs to be it.
Yeah.
If you're, like, play Jackson State.
Yeah.
If you're going to play a SWAC team, play Jackson State and be done with it.
Yeah.
And that you don't need to play any more of those teams. You need to play UAB, Sanford, Southern, Memphis. Those are perfectly acceptable, even though Memphis's RPI is probably bad too. I would rather see that than Southern University.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think a lot of people, Brian, are just like, I think it's past like, oh, will we make the postseason or not? I think people are just fatigued with this.
I've had enough. Yeah,
I think like this is embarrassing
that's a whole other show, my friend. That's a whole
to even be sitting here talking about, can State even make the postseason? It's
embarrassing.
Freaking embarrassing.
It is. It's 100%.
This is 3 out of the last 4 years that we're either talking about Mississippi State's not going to make the postseason or they might not. And then last year it was, can they host? And it's just like 4 years in a row of this should never happen at Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. It should never happen. And we beat this drum to death. So I know some people are just tired of hearing that. But I don't think you can say it enough. This is embarrassing to be 4 consecutive years here of mediocrity to bad. And this roster is better than this too. This roster is better than 6-12. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen a lot of people talk about it.
I agree 100%.
I've seen a lot of people talk about they haven't recruited well, this and that. Okay, whatever. This roster is way better than 6-12.
Agreed.
It's a top 8 offense probably in most of the categories. The pitching outside of this weekend has been top 5 in most categories. So I realize they had a bad weekend, but they've been good enough on the whole season that that's fine. This roster is way more talented than what it is, and this program deserves so much more than what it's getting. And the fans, you can just kind of see it.
Well, look at the crowd Sunday. I mean, I know it's Easter, but if State had won the first 2 games, the people show up.
And, you know, I didn't go to any of the 3 because I feel like a bad husband if I'm leaving my wife here for several hours. But I watched all 3 of them, and Saturday especially, like, you could just see the frustration from the fans on their faces. Like when the bullpen meltdown was happening, like you see people turning to the dugout, yelling at the dugout. I mean, the frustration is evident with this fan base, and they're just tired of this. They're just tired. And I think State fans are just tired of Mississippi State sports. Like the whole athletic department being in this shape where like everything is either terrible or mediocre is weighing on a lot of people. It's weighing on you and me. I mean, because we have to talk about this on a daily basis, and we almost never talk about really good things.
It's been a
really
while.
Good teams. Somebody has to figure this thing out because Mississippi State right now is just not in a great place across the board. There's some good spots. There's some teams that are doing good things, but the things that matter, the sports that matter, it's frustrating losses or really bad teams or a guy transferring that you need to stay. It's just a constant uphill climb for Mississippi State right now. And I don't know what the answer is, but somebody needs to figure it out.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the rest of the show. Talk about some spring football. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District. Robbie and I were at Two Brothers on Saturday. We went there after the spring game and enjoyed a great lunch. Great people. Place was packed. We love to see that with the Cotton District Arts Festival going on. But if it's not anything special going on, you can always just head on over there, man, and grab a great meal at Two Brothers or across the street at the Older Brother, 2 of Starkville's best restaurants right there next door to each other. We had at the Older Brother last week too, so we did good. We did good last week. We need to get Restaurant Tyler this week. We'll make it happen.
Yes.
When you want to eat a great meal, just head to the Cotton District and get a meal at Two Brothers or at the Older Brother. Great products, great service. Every business wants to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50.
When you need technology for your business, give Advantage Business Systems a call. And then if you need service on anything that they've sold you, it's just a phone call away, talking to the same people who made you the sale. They make it easy to do business with them at Advantage Business Systems. That's why they've had their doors open for 50 plus years. Give them a call today, 601-362-9192, or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. Before you go to your next game here in Starkville, if you need MSU gear, the place to go is Marunico. Do you like this fishing shirt I'm wearing? You like this? Got it at Marunico.
Yes.
Want to? It's super comfortable. Plus, you know what I like the most about it, Robbie? It's a 3X and it fits real good. I like that.
All right.
Continuing to drop down. We like that.
Yes.
If you want to get some great gear like this with the logos that you want, it's right there at Marunico. Use our promo code Thunder15, 15% off regular price items. Some exclusions will apply. Next time you're in Starkville, make sure before you go to the game, you go to Maroon & Co. All right, we were at Davis Wade.
Hold on. So you and I have talked about. I got the WrestleMania pre-show on.
Yeah.
You and I have talked before about the smiley face T-shirt guy that wears the same shirt. We've pretty much gotten to the point now where we believe this guy works for WWE. He goes to every show. He's probably like, I don't know.
I don't think he's like Marlon's man. I don't think he's like independently wealthy and is just traveling. I think he's got something going on there.
He puts the ring up or something.
He
just came down the ramp with Wade Barrett, like in his smiley face shirt.
There you go. Then we know it now. It's confirmed. He's obviously
anyway.
He's a plan.
I didn't have anything else to add. I saw that and I wanted to
very good
present that to you.
All right. We were at Davis Wade Stadium Saturday for the spring game. Interesting the way they set it up. Basically, an hour-long scrimmage, running clock. They kept it pretty basic, I thought. It's one of those things, when I always remember this. The thing I always go back to, Robbie, is when Antonio Hargrove was at State and like the scrimmage reports would come out and he'd have like 7 catches for 175 yards. You're like, dude, he's going to be like Randy Moss for this team. Then you just found out that defense was terrible.
And then John Harris.
John Harris. What a practice player. But this game, what we took away from this, defensively, at least when you look at them on the field, they look like an SEC defense. They have some size. They have some better athletes out there. I thought you could see a difference in the way they played in this game. But that gives us the other side of the question, and Lebby addressed it. The offensive line is still a work in progress, even now that the spring is over. State's going to continue to be active in the portal. They're bringing in offensive linemen. There's some rumors that all Big 12 freshman center Cash Cleveland maybe make a trip over here. Obviously would have been recruited by and would have been coached by Phil Lodeholt, so that maybe that connection can pay off for State. So which one was it then? Defense better or offensive line worse?
I actually asked Jeff Lebby that at the press conference, what did you think? And he pretty much said that they did get much better on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little bit of both. I think we can tell that they are bigger and they're stronger and they've got more numbers up front.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready to say that this defensive line is going to be top half of the league.
Right.
But I think what they can do is they can push the offensive line back in the backfield a little bit this year, and they can create some negative plays with the running backs, and they could push the pocket out, or they could get sacks. I think they're capable of doing that this year at a much higher level.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I do think that the offensive line is kind of a problem right now. And Jeff Lebby hasn't really been shy about talking about that.
Yeah.
They have got to go to the portal and get some guys because they're not happy with what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather hear that than you look up on September 1st or whenever that game is, and you've got an offensive line that's getting absolutely bum rushed, and you have no way to stop it, and you're stuck with that for the whole year. So I think that they're not really as talented as they want to be right now, and it's not really Phil Lodeholt's fault. He got here late. It's probably not and this isn't everybody, but the group as a whole is probably not where he wants it to be. And that's where they've been extremely active going after transfer portal offensive linemen. Now, will these guys be able to help? I don't know. It's going to be a lot more difficult to find impact players in the spring than it was in December because there's just a lot. There's not going to be a lot of guys transferring. If they are transferring, it's the same kind of players that are transferring out of Mississippi State. So we'll see what they get. The line as it is right now is not where you want it to be. They've got to get some guys. And another thing you have to consider, too, is they've got to play together.
Yeah.
It's going to take time for them to mesh. So it's
something
not
we
like
should mention. They weren't. It wasn't the starting offensive line for just the maroon or the white. You had a couple guys who were going to start on the white, a couple guys who were going to start on the maroon. So the actual starting five, I don't know how many snaps they took together, if any.
And your veteran of the group has been out the entire
Albert Reese,
with Albert Reese, who I think, some people will say they don't think he's very good, but I think he's a good offensive lineman. I think Mississippi State's offensive line's better with him in there. I like him a lot at guard. Wherever he is, Mississippi State's better with him in there, and your depth is better.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens the next month or so. I expect them to be extremely active in trying to find somebody. There was a couple of guys they were after. I've heard their numbers, like NIL wise, were just laughable.
Yeah.
And they said thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
So somebody that looks good right now, they might sit down at the table with an NIL deal and it'd be ridiculous, and you're moving on again. So it's just a fluid situation.
Two guys that stood out for me, one offense, one defense. Ricky Johnson, the receiver out of the state of Georgia, played a little bit last year. Not the biggest receiver in the world, but he made plays. When he caught the ball, he ran good routes. He looked good catching the football. And for a receiver room that needs guys to step up, we liked what we saw a little bit out of Aiden Williams. We liked what we saw a little bit out of, San Francisco McGee had the one touchdown catch in this game. But I thought Ricky Johnson was really good. Defensively, the guy that stood out to me was Tony Mitchell, the transfer from EMCC. I had him with two tackles for a loss and a sack in this game. I thought state safeties played pretty well. I thought Stalka looked pretty good out there. Jabrias Stewart had a big play. Brian Lanier came up from the safety position for a tackle for loss. Tyler Woodard had a sack in this game. We talked about state safeties a lot this offseason. That's a group that we really like. Those are the two guys that stood out to me. I know you want to talk about one guy in particular. We will save a moment or two for him. I know you know who we're talking about. But did anybody else from that,
Diesel?
No. Big Diesel, hey, he got some pressure. There was a play. He came in, and on the first play, he got through the line. And Robbie and I grabbed each other. We were like, get it. We've never wanted to see a sack so bad in our lives.
He was bearing down on Blake Shapen.
He played all right. Anybody else you want to mention that you thought stood out to you?
I think the linebackers are in a good spot. Jalen Smith, I think he led all tacklers. I think he's going to help him out a lot. I'm trying to think. Brandon Jennings, I thought, had a good scrimmage. Mm-hmm. I thought we didn't see much of Isaac Smith.
No, he did have tackle for loss in the game.
I think people I think we need to reiterate too, because there was a lot of talk that Isaac Smith was moving to linebacker, and he set the record straight on Saturday. It's like a lot of people have been talking about this, but nothing's changed from where it was last year. I'm playing kind of the same thing, which is correct. He's like a box guy. He's going to play a little closer to the line of scrimmage. Yeah. So nothing's really changed with him, but he acts almost as a linebacker.
Right.
But I thought the front seven was a lot more disruptive. You didn't see any breakaway runs, really. Maybe one. And at most, it was for 12 yards. So, and again, is that the offensive line, defensive line? I choose to believe a little bit of both, but I'm giving more credit up front to Mississippi State because they did look way more disruptive up front than they did last spring.
Yeah.
Didn't see a lot of deep balls completed. No. I thought the cornerbacks were.
But there were some open guys. There were some open guys. Just the throws were a little offline. Shapen had a couple of times he could have hit Brennan Thompson. You did have one deep ball that was completed that was brought back on a penalty. Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the young man. I think we all saw the same things with Camario Taylor. It will not be his job this year, but I will be really surprised if he's not QB1 even going into next year. I thought Kromenhawks, he struggled a little bit, but a lot of that was the offensive line. He looked good running the football. You can see the arm talent with him, but that's a special player in Camario Taylor. You can see the talent coming from him.
Yeah, just validating what we've seen from him in high school the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's physically the gifts are through the roof, but it just doesn't really phase him out there. That's what really stood out to me. I've seen him throw the football around since he was in 9th grade at Jeffrey Simmons football camp. I've seen that. I've seen the arm talent. I've seen the strength and the touch that he has on the deep ball. But the poise that he had is, I think that's what's going to set him apart. Nothing's really going to rattle him, and he's also a guy that can really improvise, and I think that's going to be a big thing as well for him. But physically, and just the way that he carried himself, looks like he belongs. Is he ready? I don't think he's ready.
No.
And a lot of people, the minute that Blake Shapen throws an interception, are going to be calling for Camario Taylor. I'm just going to go ahead and prepare anybody else for that. What you're going to see whenever Blake Shapen has one bad play is it's time to put Camario in the game. And I don't think that's a good idea right now. It needs to play out. He needs to learn some more. He needs to get the playbook and be ready when his time comes. Now, if something happens to Shapen, I think I personally would go ahead and throw him in the fire.
You throw him in over Kromenhawk?
Yes.
Okay.
I would just, if it's not Shapen, I would just go ahead and throw Camario in.
Oh.
And because at that point, you just don't have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like salvaging your season. That's a guy that could elevate the team if it does go right.
Speaking of last year, we saw Michael Van Buren at the game.
Yes, I'm 99% positive that was him. I turned to you, I was like, I think that was Michael Van Buren.
I turned around, I was like, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, so
yeah. So
that's crazy. So all
right. I thought Camario, he made probably the more spectacular, like wow plays in the game.
The pass that was overturned to Aiden Williams. First off, fantastic catch by Williams, but the touch on that football coming out of his wrist, and we saw even in warmups, there was one throw he threw it 50 yards, and I just looked at you, I was like, that was off his back foot. He was leaning back and just flung it, and I was like, that was a 50-yard throw. I mean,
well, the first one I got your attention, I was like, that's 50 yards. He was flat-footed.
Yeah.
And then he just, was kind of leaning back and just flicked the wrist.
Like the same way somebody would throw you a beer.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that is stuff that I've been watching the last couple of years, and I wondered, how is this going to translate to this level? Because you can see the stuff from guys. That's why quarterback is a very difficult position to evaluate.
Yeah.
Because, you can't really translate what it's going to be like in the SEC to a quarterback's head and project that. Because that position is a position where you have to be elevated so much higher than everybody else mentally because of what's all on your shoulders. This guy can handle all that. And I try not to hype him up to be something that's untouchable, but I have been preparing people that this is a different kind of guy that Mississippi State brought in, different than most quarterbacks that they've ever brought in, from a physical talent standpoint to a it factor standpoint. And on top of that, by the way, he absolutely loves Mississippi State and wants to take Mississippi State to the next level. And that's a recipe for some special things during a time where Mississippi State desperately needs something and someone like that. Hopefully, Camario eventually can really elevate this program and start to move it into the right direction.
All right. One last thing before we go. I'm not going to pull the Cruton song up for this, but Chris Jans, certified Thunder and Lightning listener. What did we say on this show? What did Robbie Faulk say over and over again? If you can't keep Keyshawn Murphy and you can't keep that kind of style of offense that it looked like you were going to with Murphy and Quincy Ballard, go get you a stretch four, spread the floor, get some guys who can shoot the three. That's exactly what Mississippi State has done. After we recorded on Thursday, I believe, is when Sam Walters commits to Mississippi State. Originally signed with Alabama, was at Michigan last year. He is a true stretch four, a 6'10" guy who can shoot the three. And then Friday night, while the basketball game was going on, our baseball game was going on, some people want to claim this is science. I don't know if you did any research because we got some good basketball news while the baseball team was melting down. But
I allowed it.
All right, a chore. Another stretch four. I was at Samford with our boy Bucky, who's now at Texas A&M, Bucky ball guy. Another three-point shooter. Was at Kansas State last year, had some issues and ended up leaving the team. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a red flag after what happened last year with Kanye Cleary. I'm just immediately going to be like, I'm going to do this again. But State went out in this portal and got two guys who transform that power forward position. And they're not done yet. They probably need to get another guard. They need to get another guy. Right now, your guard rotation is Hubbard, Warren, and McGee. I guess Ali could play guard at 6'8", but that's a big two guard. Sean Jones could play some two, I guess, but that's not. I don't know about that. You need to go get another guard, but think about it's crazy how quickly this flipped. At first, it was they're not getting anybody. Then they get McGee and Ballard. Like, all right, now it's looking good. Then Murphy bolts. And you're like, oh no, it's over. It's screwed. And they go in. They've gotten some good pieces. Right now, this team, once Hubbard gets back into the fold, and that should be coming up pretty shortly. I like where this roster is. They still have a little more work to do, but Jans has done a good job. The stuff that On 3 was saying that State was going to be spending some money, it looks like that is exactly the case.
Yeah. I mean, you have to this day and age, and I don't think people truly understand what. The money that's getting thrown around in the transfer portal right now for average to below average talent. It's absurd. It makes no sense. But that's where you are right now. And for the good players, you're really going to have to spend. But yeah, this is the power forward position in particular. We talked about it. You want to keep Murphy first and foremost. You wanted to keep Murphy. If you got a chance to bring back a guy that's going to be in his fourth year at Mississippi State under Chris Jans, who just had a breakthrough season, you got to do it. But if he wasn't coming back, you needed to evolve at that position.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they did. And I got some blowback when Sam Walters committed, I said Mississippi State was back in business. In the transfer portal. And I got some blowback, people thinking I was just hyping up this guy to be like Murphy's replacement. But the reason I said that was that Mississippi State was building the roster. And they went out and they got a guy who's not going to be a starter, and Sam Walters, who was a rotational player for Alabama. A lot of people told me he never played. That's not true at all. He played every single game for Alabama as a true freshman and was in the rotation. And that's an Alabama team that was top 15, top 10 all year. And then he goes to another Power 4 school, another Elite 8, Sweet 16 caliber team in Michigan, and plays there. This is a guy that's going to be able to stretch the floor out. He's going to be able to knock down shots for you and help you offensively. That's a big piece for Mississippi State, a piece that they desperately needed. Then you get a Chore who's able to do the same thing and is also able to do a lot more than what Walters does. Your position right there in the center position, to me, at least with your frontline guys, are as good, if not better, for the style of play that's played right now in college basketball for Mississippi State this year. I think you became a better team with that style, with having multiple players there, that you have a low post defender, low post scorer, and then you have two fours that can step out, really stretch the floor, and give you four players on the court that can score outside. So I think they're in a good spot. You're now narrowing your focus on a couple of players, probably maybe one more guy.
Yeah.
Because you're starting to run into some numbers crunching, and somebody's probably going to have to leave. But if you get Josh Hubbard back, which we expect, you add a combo guard that can score it. You're in really good really good position. And you're right back to where we were. And I know things didn't turn out as well in a lot of areas, but on paper, Mississippi State's transfer portal class last year was very good.
Right.
And I remember at one point, a lot of people saying, what's State doing? What's Chris Jans doing? He figured it out, and it didn't work out, but that's the portal at this point. It's a flip of the coin. So on paper, again, Mississippi State looks to be moving in the right direction of having a NCAA tournament roster, a roster that can do some good things. And hey, this roster right now is playing out like we've been wanting, a roster that's kind of that in between of Christian's first 2 years and last year.
Yeah,
that can score offensively, that can also
be better defensively.
It's that happy medium. So
we'll see where it goes.
Good start.
Right. Expect more transfer portal news this week, I would imagine, just because they, like I said, they definitely are still in the market for another guard, and we'll see who that ends up being. All right, today, Monday, as you're listening, I'm talking to Coach Jeff Lebby at 10:30 this morning. As soon as that interview is done, I'll just go ahead and put it up for you on the podcast feed. We'll make it a part of tomorrow's show as well. And that's going to be an extended conversation, I am hopeful. So we should get a lot of good information, I hope, out of Jeff Lebby. Basketball, baseball, everything else, we'll cover it as it happens this week. Plus, we have State's 5-2 up on Oklahoma. Last I checked.
5-5 now. So
God, Oklahoma's so good, man. They're
good.
They're just good. We'll see if State can scratch out a win there. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk, Mississippi.